It is 6 o'clock. We will call the meeting to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just so everyone is aware, this meeting is being recorded by Norton Cable. Please let us know if you are recording as well. At this time, I'll turn the meeting over to Dr. Baeta as we reorganize the school committee for the upcoming year.
Good evening all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The reorganization of the Norton School Committee is required by the school committee bylaws following the annual town election. Procedure for reorganization is as follows. The chairman will open the meeting and turn the election process over to the superintendent, who will act as chairman pro tem for the purpose of receiving nominations and conducting the election for the chairperson of the Norton School Committee. All nominations must be seconded. At the end of the nomination process, a motion must be made and seconded to close nominations and a ballot vote taken for the election of a chairman. If there's only one nominee, then the chairman pro temp will cast one ballot and announce the nominee as the chairman of the school committee. Upon conclusion of that process, the chair takes over and completes the vice chair process and then all of the appointments to the various different committees and representation. At this time, I'll open up, I need a motion to open up nominations.
So
Mrs. Savas, second please.
Second.
Mr. Sheedy, any nominations?
Nominating chair.
Nomination for chair.
I nominate Sherry Cohen.
Sherry Cohen has been nominated. Ms. Cohen, do you accept?
Yes.
Thank you.
I didn't say this.
Is there a second on her nomination?
Second.
Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations and only one, I need a motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
Need a second? Considering there was only one person, congratulations, Ms. Cohen. I will enter into the record the vote as pro temp as you being the next chairwoman of the Norton School Committee. Congratulations.
Thank you. So exciting, yes. Now, do I have to do the rest of this?
Yes, first one is, you just have to ask for nominees for vice chair.
It's been a while since I've done this, so sorry, y'all. All right, so nominees for vice chair? Anyone?
Make a motion to name Dinesh Savas.
Is there a second?
Second.
Do I have to ask anyone else?
No, you can ask if there's any other nominations.
Any other nominations? I know Justine, it's your first meeting.
Jump right in.
Right?
We should have nominated a chair.
That would have been fun.
There'd be a dust pile going right out the door.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Yep, congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, so now we need to do,
Yeah, I can just go through if you want on your behalf.
Okay,
It makes
that'd be
it easier. Currently, you need the following positions, and you can vote as we go along. The current legislative representative is Mr. Sheedy. Any nominations that, and does last time we did this, we just said, does Mr. Sheedy want to continue, yes or no, and the committee agreed. Mr. Sheedy?
Follow me.
Mr. Sheedy accepts, and so, Madam Chair, please ask for a motion and a call.
motion to approve Dan Sheedy as the legislative representative.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Second on the list, employee negotiations representative, that has been Mr. Savas and Ms. Gallagher. Ms. Gallagher is no longer a member of the committee. You currently have no real negotiations issues going on, however, it can come up. So we have in the past done two. They take care of the big contract, which is basically the teachers, the paras, and the soon-to-be coders, SLPAs. Mr. Savas is currently the only member. If Mr. Savas accepts, someone can make a motion.
Yeah, I think there's going to be absolutely nothing this year, but I would like to continue on that.
Okay.
Make a motion to approve Dinesh Savas for negotiation representative.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Awesome. And now, if you want to have a second one, we should always have the second one.
Yeah.
So nominations for the second one.
So,
I actually think Nick might be a good fit for this.
Good
because
starting point.
it's not completely inconceivable that this is very different in some years down the road, and it's something he's going to need to know if he's going to stick around.
It's up to you guys.
Like to
Nominate.
nominate Nick Schleicher.
Is there a second?
is Nick good with it?
Yeah, you better think about it.
I know, he's not answering. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Okay. So are you asking if there's a second, or do
No,
I?
you are.
Okay, is there a second?
Yeah,
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Capital Improvement Committee has been Ms. Cohen. Ms. Cohen, are you willing to stay, or would you like to?
I can do it unless somebody else wanted to turn at it, but I can continue to do it.
A motion from Ms. Cohen?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, next one is an interesting one. This is the Special Education PAC representative, the CPAC. This is mostly about attending, used to be going to all the schools, now it's really about trying to go to the CPAC meetings, which happen about once a month in the evening. Very well-run organization
Mondays,
as of the last couple of years.
Yep.
Usually on Mondays, if I remember correctly, somebody could correct me. We currently have a opening, so Madam Chair, you'll have to ask for nominations.
Do we have any nominations?
Nominate Justine.
How do you feel, Justine? Good?
Very good about that one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
It's in it's in
All
your
those in
wheelhouse.
Aye.
Aye.
It's a good start. That's a great one to go to because it's always very positive. A lot of good things going on. We do not need a member of the permanent building committee representative. You vote on that to put somebody on there. We were just doing it as part of being a school committee because of the building. Right now, we're not doing anything.
Okay.
So
I don't mind staying in that role, that if we do go and start building again,
Right.
to go back there. But as we talked about, when Dan was chair,
Yeah.
kind of got a little monotonous and pointless if we're not building anything.
Okay.
Okay.
And then the last one is, as you know, you folks utilize the priority warrant person, but then you have backups. So currently it's Sherry as the signee, and then backed up by Dan, and then Dinesh. So we need who's going to be one, and then who's going to be the backups.
Does anybody have flexibility where they could go during the day to sign warrants, or no? No? All right, I guess it's me. I'll be number one.
If we were desperate, I could try and like work from home and run over there, but it wouldn't be.
Yeah, no, it's okay, I can get there.
And I think one of the things we need to do, Madam Chair, if it's all right for me to step in for a second, is I think that one of the things we should talk about doing is giving like the number one, number two person maybe an actual key to our little foyer area. Could leave everything out there. You could get a punch-in number, that's only your numbers, like I do and we all do. And then it'd be great for the accounts payable office as well, because then you could go in at any time. You could go in at 11 o'clock, as long as you don't set off the alarm, and you de-arm and then alarm, and then the next morning, that would be great, I think, for the staff. So we can talk to Wayne
Yeah.
about doing that, and I think it could be very positive for everybody.
Yeah, I just don't like holding you up. if I'm
Oh,
late.
please, don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. So can we just keep it as is and just do a motion to,
Yeah, I mean, there's some flexibility there too, and someone needs to go. I mean, I have no problem being a backup too.
Yeah.
But if you guys want to stay as is, that also works.
okay, are you good with staying as is? 1, 2, and 3 for this year?
Who's one,
One,
two, three?
two.
I'll be honest with you, I
Three
wasn't
did.
listening during that.
1, 2,
Good
and
to
3.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve Sherry as one, Dan as backup one, and
And then
Dinesh
there's
backup
backup
two.
too.
All those in favor?
Interesting language.
All right, so now I'm up.
Yes.
Vote to approve minutes of April 27th open session meeting. Does everybody have a chance to look at them, over?
Yes.
What do you
and,
have?
I can always tell by the
I
yes
know.
if there's a question.
My only issue that I felt needed to be brought up was, in the FY '24 budget update,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to change the wording on number 3 of the update. It says the finance committee agreed to an additional $707,550. We should change that to propose, because that's actually, they proposed it and brought it to us as a proposal.
So
I don't
the
think that
finance
they
committee-
agreed on that.
Proposed
An additional.
an
Yeah.
additional.
Yep, that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Just because they did not agree to that until.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So.
You guys see all these seconds in here by Mr. Schleicher?
Yes.
I noticed it.
We wanted
It
to
took a
relook
little
that
longer to get the
again.
minutes book since the size of that last name.
Anything else on the warrants?
I think that was it. I guess that's it.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the minutes of April 27th, 2023 open session meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And one
One
abstain,
abstain.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 abstains.
401.
Oh, two.
Excuse me,
Three.
302, with 2 members abstaining.
All right, so warrants, I've reviewed and approved the following school expense and school payroll warrants. School expense warrants, April 27, 2023, $337,194.98. May 3rd, 2023, $163,910.10. School payroll warrants, April 20th, 2023, $1,117,240.15, and May 4th, 2023, $1,103,932.94. I wish to enter them into public record. Student rep update?
Hey guys,
Oh, yeah.
so Antonio can't be with us tonight. That makes it sound like he died, but he just had something come up. Sorry, that was a bad phrasing.
I was like, what?
Yeah, no, sorry, that was terrible. No, he's good, he's fine. But
It's busy.
yeah, he's busy now, he's alive. But, so we heard from the Yale and the middle school this week. Sorry. So this week at the Yale, the students are finishing up math MCAS. The kids have done a sensational job taking their time and putting in great effort, and the Yale staff is so proud of them. Next week, they're going to complete the spring 2023 MCAS with their 5th grade science, tech, and engineering sessions. Students have worked so hard at making sure they put in the effort to show what they know. Each MCAS day, they start the kids with a morning recess to get outside and run around, and the weather has cooperated with them so beautifully. They then have the kids take the test, go to their normal lunch and recess, and then have their special in the afternoon. So many of their students say after MCAS days how much they enjoy it. 2 recesses, beautiful days, new playground, and turf to play on. In the coming weeks, they have many transition events with Mr. Gagan and Mr. Balawa visiting the 3rd graders at JCS and LGN with their coming for a day as well. The 5th graders are doing the same with Mr. Hayward coming to visit with their guidance counselor, Mr. Maloof, and some students to help the Yale students get a glimpse of what the middle school experience will be like for them in 6th grade. They too will be going over to NMS for an exciting day to experience life at the middle school. There is much more to come in terms of field day, field trips, and other transition events for their students. And speaking of the middle school is having their Day of Awesomeness Carnival on Thursday, May 18th, and this is connected to their very successful fundraiser that they held back in March. But that is it for me. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything? Questions, anything? Okay. All right, second reading and vote on advertising at district athletic complex and fields policy.
Madam Chair, through you to the rest of the committee, the one change was deleted or individual as recommended by the school committee. This now requires a vote to enter going forward.
So I just had a quick question.
Sure.
The background information, the costs, the 600 and the 750.
Yep.
The banner's replaced for 2 years, is that per year or is that?
That's two,
It covers
gets-
2 years.
covers 2 years.
Okay.
I'll get to some examples because
Yeah, I was
we made
just
some
curious
phone
on
calls.
that more than anything else.
Yep.
Okay.
We kept the rates separate because if it's under the policy, then we have to come back, do 2 readings and all that stuff. There's no need to,
Yeah, it's just,
we can always bring it to you and say it's time to consider upping the rates, like we
Right.
do fees or something like that.
yeah, that was just random curiosity.
So, just one question, maybe I missed this discussion, so I wasn't here, but, do these signs have to be approved by us or the district, or just?
They're approved by through my office, basically utilizing your policy.
Okay.
So it's very clear on what can happen and can't happen. We'll also be talking a lot in the next few weeks about colors and all that stuff, because we want to have some uniformity, not just, you choose your own colors type of thing. We can't go that way. Okay?
Anything else?
Just to confirm, any money that is coming in from these advertisements is going into the athletic complex revolving
Yeah,
account?
it's the facilities account subheading of athletic complex.
Perfect.
Anything else? All right, is there a motion to approve advertising rates for district athletic complex and fields?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Just to, sorry, you motioned for approval of athletic rates, we're actually approving the policy, not rates.
Yes. Your
Oh, I'm sorry, I
Second
went the
reading
wrong
of
one.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Told you,
KHBB.
it's been a while. All right, rewind. Is there a motion to approve advertising at district athletic complex and fields policy as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, now we go to the rates.
Right, so we had all kinds of discussions with different folks, and what we did, including our own organizations within the community that do it. And what we found out is, in general, at our level, if you will, so this would be non-higher education, higher education costs are significantly higher. For example, the local college is $1,500 with a 5% raise in year 2 and year 3. So it's every year that you're doing it. For organizations like youth soccer and your footballs and your baseballs and all that stuff, it's a way to give advertising and also support the organization. So we looked at the rates. We wanted to make sure that we covered the costs. We did get costs for the banner at $100 for a 3x5 and a $150 for a 4x6. putting that into the total cost of $600 for the 3x5 and $750 for the 4x6.
So that would be the total cost per,
And it's good,
Agency.
and it would be set for 2 years. The idea for us is also, we're thinking that in the winter time, if we know it's gonna be a bad winter, we might roll them in. It's a little bit of work, but it could give them to look really nice the second year as well. Now, the complex is used a lot, as you guys know. I mean, if you have a winter like you just had this year, it's gonna be used 24/7, so,
Yeah.
just to let you know.
It's a great deal for advertising.
It's a good deal.
2 years.
We have a lot of internal discussions that we all, because we don't have one booster, we have 20 boosters, we have activity boosters, everybody's going to the same people. So we don't want to hurt our town organizations or school organizations, but yet that field gives you a real nice piece of advertising as you're coming in. So that was the rationale
So
for
where-
doing so.
where would these be going?
So they would go on the outside of the fence,
Like outside your office?
into the, facing into the field. That's how they sit.
No,
I was
facing
thinking
inside
about
of the
facing
field?
out, didn't you?
Or facing out of the field?
You can do the out or the in. I mean, that's your, you know,
I mean,
the,
I'm just thinking,
Facing out would be more.
I mean, if you're looking for the cars, you're looking for the fans and whatever.
Side
you know.
Okay.
It's just one of those things that if they're facing in, they're gonna look like crap driving up that driveway.
right, so the discussions we've had is they face out,
Yeah.
or you go with the double sign, it's more expensive, but, that's the reason why I think they are on the outside of the fence, because now you're coming around and it says Dinesh Savas Oil Company, and there it is. I think it's Marathon Oil that you own, it's one of the bigger ones.
Most of it, yeah.
Yeah,
Branching out?
that's what I thought. So that's the idea.
So it would be, and I just wanna make sure, so it's $600 and that's a 2-year
Yes.
commitment, so.
So
it's
think about it, they're
flat.
paying us 300.
And then we're gonna allow them, some organizations to do 300 and 300?
Yeah, we
Okay.
could absolutely, yeah, we could track that if we needed to. I mean, if it was a really small mom and pop, small law firm or something like that, you know, would prefer to break that up in 2 years. Sometimes you even get more money out of that.
Anything else?
The only concern I have, this is just me being a stickler for like look, I don't know if I love the 2 different option size signs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying, like when you're
Yeah.
coming in, you're gonna get that
Like,
like,
it's nice to be consistent.
yeah.
So
I'm almost like-
we've had some discussions about that around like where they would actually go. Do you alternate, for example, so that
Mhm.
it does look
A
the
little more
same, a
uniform.
little bit more uniform? I think you kind of go with it for 2
Yeah.
years and then say the following year, we're just going to 1 4x6, that's all we can do.
What do you just do, the bigger ones up top and then the smaller
Yeah.
ones down below,
Yeah.
like to
Right.
make it more uniform?
At the end of the day, they're zip tied onto the fence, so.
Right, can be
You
changed.
folks are gonna make, I think you're gonna make some decent money on this as a donation, and then, and potentially even have some other folks who say, you know, I would like that piece of the fence, and I'll give you more for it.
Yeah,
If you wanna give more for a gift, go right ahead,
Yeah.
please do.
okay.
And
Anything
again,
else?
this allows for you guys to come back without a 2 times policy. You can have it on the agenda next week and vote on it and implement it the next day instead of going through the policy protocol.
Do we have any idea how many, like, do we have a limit on how many of these we can sell?
No, we don't, but that'll be the next thing that, you know, before we try to sell it to everybody. But remember, we're also looking at the complex, so we've got the football field too. And some people might like that, because that
Yeah.
one would actually be in the inside.
Yeah, correct.
So some people might say, I want it on the inside, I want people to face it during the soccer games, field hockey games, and football games.
Yeah, because you're
And some
sitting in the
people-
bleachers,
Right.
yeah.
Versus the other one, you're coming in, so you're driving in, so on and so forth. And it's zip tied, so you put them up, you take a look, and if it doesn't look the right way, it's like putting up pictures at home. If it doesn't look the right way,
You move it.
mine are all crooked, so. I'll leave
You
it
got
at
all the
that.
holes in your wall.
All the holes
Yeah.
on my wall. That's why I love those jigs there.
Okay.
Does require a vote.
You guys have anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve advertising rates for district athletic complex and fields?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Alright,
All right, second reading and vote on updated wellness policy.
That was the presentation that you heard. There was very good discussion. I think it's one of the better ones that's written. We'll publish it as soon as you vote it and implement it as written. It requires a vote tonight.
Okay. Does anybody have anything on this?
I got some notes, just, I guess I'll just pick right through them all
Yeah.
and just get them out of the way. I'm just trying to read, catch up here. Fine, sorry. There we go. Celebrations and rewards part of this. Like, I know, like, you know, my kindergartner we had to pay $23 for Friday ice cream. We just paid for it for the whole class. So $23, whatever. Is that something that's gonna like now go away because we have like a policy like this in place?
So the issue is that the federal government, so this is top down, the federal government requires under the federal wellness policy, food policy within districts to follow that under safety and protocols, that all food products go through your trained, quote, in our case, Chartwell's Food Services Program. In the past, it would have been our regular food services program. That's the big thing. It's been an issue. A lot of us are trying to push the less of the food and more of the celebration of other kinds, games and all that kind of stuff, which a lot of families are doing. Bringing in cupcakes causes a ton of issues because of everything to do with student safety. You know, not that anybody's trying to hurt somebody, but if you didn't really clean that spoon and there was peanut butter on it, next thing you know, you may have a problem. So we stay away from that.
So could like in Nick's scenario, could parents reach out to food services and say, I want to do something for a celebration?
Correct. That the easiest, cleanest way is to be able to do that. And we're trying to work with Chartwell to find, it's been an ongoing issue. We're trying to find the balance price, right? They're a company, so they have prices that they set for us. We don't set those prices. It's gonna be a little bit more to get ice cream from them than it is if you go up the street to your supermarket.
Yeah, no, I'm just like thinking, because my daughter, whatever, her birthday was in March, and it was like a Friday ice cream day, whatever.
Right.
You know, the kids can pay a buck or whatever it is. And we were like, oh, can we do the ice cream? Can we do something or whatever? The teacher was like, well, what a lot of people are starting to do is just pay for the ice cream. And then all the other parents don't have to pay the buck. The whole nightmare
That's
of
correct.
sending in the
Yep,
buck.
you
Making
can-
sure you bring the buck, because good God, if you don't do that. So like, we just were like, perfect, we'll do the $23 and do the ice cream.
Yep.
I'm just like nervous that with like the little kids, like, is that gonna just go away? Because now we wrote a policy being like, oh, there's no more ice cream.
I don't think it's gonna go away because we do provide, we do provide ice cream in the district.
It sounds like he's buying it.
I don't know who bought,
Buying it through Chartwell's.
Yeah.
That's the key,
So
that's the
Yeah.
key.
That's what we
And
started
the
doing.
reason is we
Yeah.
all, like, for example, we do have ice cream days throughout the year. I mean, I, as superintendent, have utilized funds to say it's time for some type of a celebration, because, I mean, last year, not this past year, the year before, in September, it was hotter than heck.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so we do it, it's just, we're trying to also, I mean, 23 birthdays in 1 year with 23 ice creams is probably something we don't want to do, but
I mean, I'm.
if we go through Chartwell's, it makes it nice and clear, because the ice cream that's available, that can be selected, it's all been checked,
Good.
verified, it meets the minimum requirements and all that stuff.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know if we maybe add something in there. Of like,
You basically just said next round's on me. That's what you
Yeah.
did.
correct.
Yeah.
And the fact is, the easiest way to do that, which we could publish differently, and that doesn't need to be in your policy, is we could publish something at the beginning of the year and have it up that if you in fact want to do something, this is the email to contact. It would be Mike Vaccaro in the food services department. All you need is Mrs. So-and-so's room, Mr. So-and-so's room, 23 kids next Thursday, and then work with the teacher with it, and you'd be all set.
Or can we task Chartwell with maybe coming up with like small alternatives?
Absolutely
Like
could do
say
that.
everybody.
Great idea.
Like say like a
Great
fruit
idea.
cup versus an ice cream, so we have healthy choices.
That's a good
You know,
idea.
like if we can have something, it doesn't have to be like a you know, 3-course menu, but like, you know, not everybody eats ice cream.
Yeah, I
I
see what
just
you're
heard-
saying though, Nick, because it does say non-food events.
Correct.
So, yeah, that's,
And again,
yeah.
you know, just like, I don't know,
Well, I can tell you right now
the
that.
right of childhood.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I will tell you that, how do I say this? I don't have a food police officer who's comes in at 8 in the morning, goes from room to room to figure out if there's something. There's a lot of flexibility here. The lack of flexibility is really just working through Chartwell is the best option. I love the idea of having a one-pager of options that you can go from
Right.
and seeing if they could even do it at a pretty reasonable price.
Okay.
Perfect. Sorry, then to go back to section 2, purpose. It says wellness committee is gonna meet 4 times a year. I mean, do we kind of have an idea of like when that's going to be? I just feel like sometimes when we write 4 times a year and then it's all of a sudden, oh crap, we got through the whole first semester and we never,
Yeah, there'll be,
there'll be kind of something like
prior
that
to,
calendar.
when we were meeting, way back in 2012 through about, or 13 through about 16, 17, we were meeting literally through like a high school schedule. It'd be the 7th or 8th week of the term, 7th week of the term, so on and so forth. Now, some of those meetings, to be quite honest, nothing to discuss at the meeting, no updates needed, so we wouldn't hold it. The best thing about now is we have the Google and Zoom and all that. It makes our meetings actually better because we want people from the outside involved. So if we do something at 4 or 5 o'clock, our teachers can still be involved from home. They don't have to wait until 4 o'clock
Right.
to be able to do it.
Perfect.
But we'll make note of that as well.
The section 6, underneath PE, like the one thing I didn't, like obviously this is very well written in terms of like what's going on. Is there like, and I know we don't want to get stuck behind a demand, if you will, but like, there's nothing in here about like how many times per week these kids are getting PE.
Correct.
How long, like there's something in here about recess and they get 25 to 30 minutes.
Right.
But then like we have physical education, there's nothing on terms of like what K through 5 does, what,
Right.
6, 7, 8 do, what high school does, how long they're supposed to be there.
So physical education by state statute is it must be taken. The state never defined how many minutes or how many days, ever. It just says you have to take it. There are school systems in high schools way back when MCAS came in that were doing it 1 time in a quarter, 4 times a year. You met the requirement. So if you decide that you want to go down that route of K to 5 must be at least 45 minutes, 6 to 8 must be at least 60 minutes, you're using the school schedules at the secondary level
Yeah.
more than you are, it's at least a 45-minute PE class simply because it's tied into the teacher prep time.
Gotcha.
Right, so the classroom teacher gets their preparation, the student goes out to their specials. Versus currently a state law, that's, I should say, a recommended legislation on defining recess as 30 minutes. They want to do that by law, which once again, I don't understand that. But you could put in your policy that you want to make sure that K to 5 gets X number of minutes.
Yeah.
That tightens your schedule in terms of, so you might have to come back and redo it. You could also not put it in the policy and define it separately, just like you did the rate hikes. You could say that the school committee is requiring 45 minutes of physical education, a minimum of 45 minutes of per week.
Didn't we talk at the last meeting too about trying to add more days
Yeah,
at the elementary
And like,
level?
yeah, correct.
Right, so,
So currently, the way that it works, kindergarten and first grade have it 2 days a week for 45 minutes at a time. Grades 2 and 3 have it once a week. And then grades 4 and 5 have it twice a week. And the reason for that is we used to offer world language, we offered Spanish in grades 2 and 3. And then we were not able to find a Spanish teacher, and we replaced it with library. So it's all comes down to that schedule. In grades 6 through 8, Mr. Hayward's here, but, or he was.
it was here.
Oh, he was here. They have it once a year, and so they have that specials rotation. So typically it's, for a trimester, they have physical
12 weeks.
education, 12 weeks.
Right.
And then at the high school, they have to take a semester of PE each year.
right,
Unless they have a waiver because they're playing a sport,
Yeah,
or doing an
varsity
outside
athletes.
activity, for example, like dance or something along those lines.
So the middle school, the trimester, 12 weeks.
Yes.
That's not every day though, right?
No. So they would have it every single day for 12 weeks, and then they might roll into an art class or a music class or something else.
It's all schedule driven, Nick, in terms
Yeah,
of the time.
I mean, I do think this is probably a larger conversation, I don't want to hold up the policy on this.
yeah.
But like, I think we should look into like an MOA,
Well, and I think that's what,
add to the policy at some
Right.
time here, because
Just a minimum.
isn't that what we talked about with the actual committee that was here?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
sit down, and I think there's a tri-sort, I guess, if you will, of like what we can do, what the district can realistically do with the teachers we have. And then obviously, I would want the teachers' input too, to make sure like
Right.
what we're looking at here, that we're not just throwing out, hey, we should do it 5 days a week and 45 minutes,
yeah,
After
right.
working with this team for a long time, I can assure you K to 5, adding 45 minutes is not going to be looked upon in a negative way by the
Gotcha.
committee or your teaching staff, especially
Yeah.
those that are responsible. because it does two things. Number one, they want the kids more active.
Of course.
And number two, it's a little bit of a job security for them that we have to have them.
For sure.
Well, and it also allows us to integrate more health topics into the curriculum as well. But the thing we have to remember is that with our current staffing in K to 5, we're teaching physical education as much as we possibly can. We
Yep.
would need to add staff in order to get everyone to the 2 days a week.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah, but I definitely think that's something I would love to look at.
Yeah, I think we have to keep it in the
Okay.
forefront and keep making sure
And
we
like-
can move towards that.
In a rare situation, the state's not telling us to do something, and we can shape our own policy, that's even better.
That's even better.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that, I'm glad, I was just about to say that, because I think the other one you really have to talk about is mandating not only physical education in the middle grades by law, as it is, right? And then you decide locally 12 weeks or whatever the schedule entails. But the real key one is, we need a health component.
Yes.
Yeah.
We need to be talking about those critical decision-making process around drugs, alcohol, sex, and everything else a lot earlier. Of course, when it comes to sex education, parents have the opt-out by law, but we just don't have the time because we don't have the staffing in this building to be able to do, making sure that the kids are getting a health. So we currently do a full year of health in 9th grade, required class. And it's a class that the kids, are pretty heavily involved with because it takes up an entire year. It's like an English class and a math class, it's not an elective.
I think also in the middle school level, including in health is appropriate behavior on social media,
Yes.
would be something that could start in middle school, if not even younger, because these younger kids are having social media accounts now, which,
Ultimately, the goal is to take that 9th grade health class and just bring it down to a semester because we have been doing a more rigorous health curriculum in grades 6, 7, and 8, as well as K to 5.
right, okay. All right, so we'll just continue with the conversation and kind of just flag that to keep an eye on it
I
and
will,
see what we can do.
I will memo the committee, the wellness committee, on the thoughts of K to 5 mandated 45 minutes and 6 to 8 adding a health requirement as part of a policy going forward.
Yeah.
So maybe they can work on it and come back to you guys with ideas and examples of
Yeah.
how to do it. Because it does require some scheduling issues at the
Okay.
middle school, because we had to go through that at the high school.
Right. Can we add into the social media component as well, if they
You
don't
could add-
already address that?
Yep.
Right, I don't think I'm talking for
100%
everybody,
agree.
yeah, okay. All right, so anything else on the
And
wellness?
just to also mention, we do the social media components here in our STEM class that all of our students take in grades 6, 7, and 8.
Okay,
So digital literacy, social media etiquette, all of those things come up in that class as well.
okay.
Yeah, but it should
I
be
think the
much
more,
comprehensive.
yeah, I think the more we can,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And we're at home.
Huh?
Could we roll it out to adults too?
Yeah, well, sometimes,
Put it on,
unfortunately,
Yeah.
parents aren't.
put it on Facebook,
Yeah,
Facebook class for adults,
do you have
free.
something else, Nick?
I might need to take that. Health education, just leading back into that one. Something I think we need to add, probably now before we vote, is students in grade K through 12 in that whole sentence. We need to add something in there that's like developmentally appropriate. Because if you have K and you're talking about sexual activity and puberty in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, we're out of our minds. So something needs to be added into that language that says, that's developmentally appropriate and age appropriate, for what we're looking at.
Nick, can you
It's
give
right
me
under
the,
the health education.
Sorry,
Thank
6,
you.
health education, yeah. It says students in grades K through 12 may focus on anti-bullying, like again, 3rd grade makes sense, social emotional skills makes sense. Substance abuse, good God, I don't know, you wanna know where that begins, but like, that sexual activity, puberty aspect of it, that needs to be really looked at in terms of, I do not want my kindergartner being talking about sexual activity and
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
puberty.
fine.
We're not,
We don't, for the record, but. I
Correct,
understand what you're
correct.
saying.
But I think we just need to add something in there that's like.
So Nick, if you look
yeah.
under the second bullet, that first sub-bullet, it says is culturally and developmentally appropriate. So I think right there is, it's kind of in there. We could add something along the lines for the grade level if you wanted there. But it does
Yeah, I
say
mean,
that it's
honestly, then maybe-
developmentally
yeah.
appropriate.
Maybe we take that section and move that up.
Yeah, or we could just reiterate the developmentally
Yeah.
appropriate component.
Because like, I
Just
feel like
further up.
schools, like, I honestly, now that you're saying that, I almost feel like that should be number 1.
Yeah.
The appropriate health education.
Because it's kind of laying it out right from the beginning.
Yeah, good.
Nick, how about if you take the darkened, the bold,
The squares.
where it says.
Where it says health education.
I can't speak tonight, it's been such a long day.
He's tired.
Why don't we call that section, instead of calling this section health education, call the section developmentally appropriate health education?
Yeah.
That would work too.
And then we know that certain, as you know, the state requirement
Yep.
is on sex ed, which is very specific, but that would allow for you folks and the educators to have further discussions. So that
Yep.
would be, I think, an easy amendment if that is the way you
Yeah,
decide to do it.
and I know we do this already, but just to reemphasize the point of like, when we are going to go into those touchy topics, if you will, that we really make sure our teachers are following up, you know, week, 2, 3 weeks ahead of time, saying, hey, we're starting on April 1st. If you want your kid to opt out, you know,
High school, I got 4 separate emails.
perfect. I'm not there yet, thank God.
Well, no, just because it was that
Correct.
learning block.
Yep.
So it was, you know, a month out, the teacher said you're gonna get something from the principal sent, and then the teacher sent it, and then it was some I think it was in Parent Square as well, so I mean, it definitely gets communicated, and
Perfect. Yeah, and I just think it also protects us. So when the
Yep.
parent says, oh, what the heck? Hey, you had an email here, you had a letter here, you had this here,
Yeah.
you know.
where else are we?
The preventative health screening, no, those are good. Those are all obviously state mandated, so it doesn't matter.
Those are all upped as well.
Oh, yes, correct, yep. I think that was it for me. Perfect, good.
Good. Anybody else?
So we have one major change that we're adding to
Right.
this.
I had a couple thoughts.
Yep.
Under the physical education, I just didn't know, when you look at the physical activity and opportunities, there's a bullet in here that talks about adapting in order to make it accessible for students with disabilities. I just didn't know if we wanted to put something under the actual physical education piece as well, that we adapt and are, you know.
Where's the first bullet that you're reading?
So physical
Sorry,
activity.
we're gonna number this next time for the record.
Sorry.
It's okay, no, you're bad.
If you look at 5, physical activity opportunities,
Yeah.
and it's 1, 2, 3, the third bullet.
Yeah.
Like opportunities will be adapted in order to make accessible for students, so that's
Yes.
great. But
Yeah.
then I didn't know if we wanted to do something similar under the physical education bulleting, just to say like
sure.
adaptive
Yeah,
PE
so-
or something like that.
Just carry it
Yeah.
over.
So carry it over. You wanna use the same language under the physical education?
Isn't it
It's
weird?
the third bullet, it touches on it as well. So physical education classes will promote an environment where children learn, practice, and are assessed on development of the appropriate motor skills and social and emotional skills.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
just not saying
yeah.
adapted
Okay.
though.
Yeah, it's not the
Oh, so
same
you just
thing.
want the word adapt, okay.
You know?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
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 It's fine.
Yeah, it almost, like a carryover almost makes sense. Something along those lines of, I think it would just read in PE class, we will do
Yeah.
everything we possibly can to have an adaptive
Yeah, and they
activity as
do,
well. Correct.
Yeah.
as we all know, they absolutely do that, and
Yes.
I agree that it might be nice to have it in writing there.
All right,
And then, sorry.
Okay.
That's all right.
Under the social emotional climate, under the wellness promotion, it just lists like a few different surveys that will be put out, like an SEL focused survey. I didn't know, and then down below under counseling and SEL universal screener. I just didn't know with these surveys if do we send out, like opt-in, opt-out to families?
Yep.
Do we send them a copy of it?
Yep,
or-
copies, what we do is, what we've been doing since last year is, when the survey is sent out, we sent the email to the parents.
Yep.
And then we put the survey online, instead of making copies, and the parent, of course, they can come to the office and pick up a copy if they want, but they can go directly online, and it'll be there for them, and then they can make their decision. We get about 5 to 7 a year of opt-out,
Opt-out, yeah.
about that.
So we typically, every year we do the Panorama SEL survey for students, and when we usually send home a letter to all families letting them know about the survey. And in the email itself is the link, and they can go right in, it's a PDF version of the survey, they can see exactly what the students see. And then again, they can, as Dr. Byetta mentioned, they can choose to not participate. if
Same thing with the
they so wish.
universal screeners from the state that we have, for example, the one that's the suicide
Yeah.
prevention, that's, I think we get 2, if I remember correctly. And that's not done everywhere, that's specific to targeted grades.
Yes,
It's usually a grade here and a grade at the high school.
7 and 11, I
7
believe.
and 11, yeah.
That was my actual like next question too. I didn't know if there was a particular reason why it was grades 8 and 11, or just with like the rise of anxiety and depression. I didn't know if this was something that we wanted to do more frequently, or if
Yeah,
that's.
Depending on what survey, what happens with the surveys is we can survey the heck out of the kids, because some of the surveys are literally 85 to 100 questions, which is absurd. So we've been pushing the state that, you know, a 30-question survey on whatever the topic is should be able to get us, you know, some general information. Like the health survey one, that's 89 questions for the middle school, and I think 99 questions for the high school. So they touch upon everything, right? So you got your drugs, your alcohol, your sex, every topic that you have a friend in school, yes or no, all of that stuff. And we've been every year trying to condense it because it just takes too long. What happens is the kids just start hitting buttons.
Yeah.
You know, that we're not getting some of the accurate information.
The signs of suicide
Signs.
assessment is also one-on-one between an adult and a student. So it's pretty time consuming when you
Yes.
think about that aspect. And I believe the grades 8 and 11 are recommended through the group that puts together that survey. And you know, it's really a beneficial assessment because it does alert us to risk with students. But I will double check with Mr. Cersey to see if he has
It can be
any
in a
other
younger
thoughts
grade.
on that, yeah.
So the survey components are run that way for two reasons. Number one, they're trying to find out what the grade level they believe that they're gonna get reliable responses, and then compare that 3 years later when they're juniors, same population of kids, to see what are the statistics showing us? Are we increasing with anxiety and depression, or decreasing? Are we seeing more females, less males, so on and so forth? That's a lot of the data collection. I can tell you that my office gets the general data information of how many students, parents are called that day,
Yeah.
right after the one-to-one. Like, listen, we have some serious concerns, we think you could pediatrician, hospital, a talk at home, or hey, seeing our own counselors for support. But I think you hit upon a really interesting topic of, is 8th grade too late? Or is it the right age? Or should it be 8 and 10 instead of 8 and 11? Should it be 7 and 9? Because high school is a big deal, there's a big changeover. So-
It seems like kind of a flawed
We'll look
setup, to
into
be
it.
honest, too, because if you're only tracking one group every 3 years, it seems like you should expand to get better statistical analysis.
It's all about the way the regulations were written, it's a one-to-one. I mean, we go all hands on deck for X day, and these people are one-to-one, and this is not a 5-10 minute meeting, because, you know, it's a set of, I think it's 10 or 12 questions.
Yeah, and every year it's done in 8th grade, and every year it's done in 11th grade. So we do get that in every student, unless the parents opt out to participate, so.
So is this, I probably should know this. The SOS program has nothing to do with Norton. They just
No.
come into the schools.
It's
We-
our staff.
It's our
It's
staff.
our
that
own
does it.
staff.
Yeah.
They
Got
get
it.
trained and
Okay.
they do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
but
It's.
they're getting trained from an outside source, coming back to us, then.
And then we do,
Got
and then we
Okay,
do it.
thank
And the
you.
reason for that is that the studies show that our people know our kids.
Yeah.
For sure. And
Yeah.
that's why I was kind of like, well, that could be those people.
And that's also,
No,
and
it's.
that's an opt-out as well. We do, like I said, we do have some of those.
Cool.
What we'll do is, we'll put together for the committee, a list of surveys that we're doing or have done or propose to do. We usually bring the surveys to the school committee for input. We've done that in the past. The health survey in particular is one because it's got controversial topics according to some. But we'll have you take a look at the other surveys that we do as well. I'll make a note of that.
There's one more thing in here, I'm sorry, something about water.
Yes.
Yes.
I just want to make sure, like, we're not going to write a policy and then not have enough of these drinking fountains.
We have enough.
We were good,
Yeah,
okay.
we're good.
Okay.
We're good in, we
I
have
figured that, but-
by floor. We also, during the hottest of the days, we put out water at the cost of the district. We put them in the hallways and kids can just grab waters because they might not have something to carry their water with.
Perfect.
So yeah, water's a big thing here, and believe me, we start to get the emails. If we know we're gonna have 3 days of 90 degrees in September, we start ordering the water. because a lot of people are drinking and just
Yes.
hydrating, keeps kids in school, keeps the staff too cooler, so. So
Anything
the
else,
motion would be
Lucy?
with amendments.
No, that was it.
Okay, so we're good to vote with the amendments that we talked about? Okay. All right, so is there a motion to approve the updated wellness policy with the amendments?
So,
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
I,
All right, the next one is update and vote on attendance policy.
That's gonna be held until June.
Okay,
It's off, it's gonna be held, you're gonna be getting the student handbooks all over again, and you're gonna get them in June, and I don't care if we have to have 7 meetings in June, you're gonna have those down handbooks settled before
I
I
like
leave.
Yes.
okay,
We're not going through another year.
all right.
So we're gonna come to compromises or do something by whenever the last day is here.
can I comment on it, or?
Yeah,
Yeah, so I did talk to Ethan about it, and it sounds like they're gonna strike the language that we didn't really particularly care for, and I talked to him for a decent amount of time about it.
yeah.
Just kind of clarified my position on it, and in thinking it through and talking with him about it, I feel more and more that I'm in favor of striking the language. The gist of it is basically that they want some type of academic consequence for unexcused absences, and I understand that, and I would love to figure that out. But my issue with the pass-fail, where if you had a pass, your grade is automatically 65, if you fail, it's automatically 59. The rare students who probably have, who may have a very good numerical grade, I think to then make that semester a 65 for them is going to affect their GPA enough that it flows through to the future for that child, particularly for, college admissions, et cetera. And so it really, I think it's basically hurting the few kids who really probably don't really want to hurt, and the other ones don't care. So I expressed that to Ethan, and I said, I don't think that this really is having the effect or the intended consequence that we really want to have on it.
Yeah, he's come to that conclusion through your
Yeah, it sounded like he kind of was like, okay, and I get it, he's, we're handcuffing him a little bit to come up with something that will have a consequence, but is not so far-reaching, I guess. But I feel pretty strongly that I wouldn't want to do that to a kid who may have a really bright future in front of them, and because they're going through something, unfortunately, that craters their ability to kind of move forward. It's too much for me.
And I think, too, if they're a good student and they can make up that work, they shouldn't then also.
Right.
And I think my biggest thing with all of this, I would, challenge our administrators, let's not let it get to that point. Let's have something else in place, especially if they are one of our brighter students and that does care about their education. Now, we've handicapped them in a way to continue their education because
Exactly.
they're
That's
going
exactly
through
my
something,
point.
so.
Yeah.
And I think I've been pretty vocal about, I think that we need to start moving away from punishing all for a few who can't, follow rules or do what's expected of them.
Yeah.
I feel very strongly that we need to move away from these blanket decisions, to punish all of our students,
Yeah.
just, so,
I had that conversation with him as well.
yeah, okay. All right, so that's tabled. Anything else on, we'll go to vote to approve the superintendent's contract.
Okay, you want me to?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Carolyn and I, for a while, went through the negotiations with Jen, and our legals discussed it. We went back and forth. Carolyn obviously is no longer here. She declined to run again. So I kind of took it over the finish line. I think you've all had a chance to read through it. There was some language that was not in our contracts originally that Joe did not have in his and Jen did not have in her current contract that our legal inserted. I thought that it would be smart to have in there. Upon reflection, I kind of looked at it, and I didn't really love it, to be honest with you. Jen's legal didn't love it either. We took it out. That was really the major sticking point. And it was essentially, if for those of you who haven't kind of compared the original and the second and the final, it was essentially the language that said we could just terminate her at any minute for any reason whatsoever. I don't love that. I don't think it's a good way to have a 3-year contract. And I doubt very much that Jen would have ever signed that, quite frankly. So we took that out. That was kind of a sticking point. It took this long only because, quite honestly, the lawyer back and forth was very
Yeah.
Yes.
Shocking.
But anyways.
$2.25 an hour, gotta extend that $2.25.
Yeah, I guarantee you they weren't working on this the whole time, but anyways, so you've all had a chance to look at the contracts. If there's any questions, any concerns, I'd certainly be willing to address them. And if not, we can put it to a vote.
The only one I wanted to kind of just probably talk to Jenna about was, and I honestly, my other page went missing somewhere in this pile, but the associations.
Yes.
There was like 4 different associations.
Yes.
Are those something that like we 100% need every single one? I guess the other big thing is like, how much do they all cost? And then, I'm not saying, you need to know by the cent here, but like, what's a general, is it $5 grand, $8 grand, 15 grand, you know, whatever? And then like, is it just I deal with this all the time, it's like, do you belong to it and get something out of it? And if they're getting something out of it, I'm gonna be the first one to support it. But it's one of those things like, I would just, and I'm not saying this is happening, but do people just join these things and be like, I'm part of the Massachusetts Superintendent Association, and then they never do anything else besides pay the dues? 'Cause that happens all the time too.
So there's a few in there, and they're pretty consistent with what Joe's had in the past, and then they're also pretty consistent with what is in my current contract
Okay.
in terms of membership to MASS, the National Superintendent Organization, the South Shore Roundtable, which is a very much a nominal fee. We meet once a month. And then I believe we actually have a district membership to ASCD, so that really is an additional cost to the district over and above what we're already doing for our principals and curriculum leads. MASS is an organization that I've been involved with since actually before I became the assistant superintendent here, and it's a wonderful organization. I was able to get the free legal counsel for this contract as part of my membership there, and that's where the new superintendent induction program runs through as well. The national organization, we get weekly updates, a lot of opportunities for professional development, engaging with other superintendents across the country, and networking groups and sharing ideas. So they're definitely, I would say, very much worth it. They're all organizations that I've already been involved with, and whether they're attending meetings or workshops or conferences, since you appointed me, which is almost a month ago at this point, which seems kind of crazy. I was able to participate in a few webinars through MASS, one specifically on Chapter 70 and the foundation budget, which was, as you guys know, a big goal of mine for the upcoming year is to really immerse myself in all things finance. And then also a webinar that looked at staffing issues, non-renewals, so all different things to kind of help me prepare for this new role, so.
Do you have like close to somewhere how much we pay?
I can get you that info.
It's $475 for the national, I think it's $375 for, it's more than that. There's no $375 for ASCD because we do it as a
We
district.
do as a district,
So
yeah.
that one it's almost like a free because it's done as a district, not just for the superintendent. The MASS, I believe, is by size of district. I want to say it's 3,200 or 3,300. That's the biggest one, but that's also the one with the most
I
active.
don't think we're that high.
And then the last one is
South Shore is like
South Shores,
150.
125.
125.
Because we can only
So we're
keep
looking at
certain.
minimum dollars for the.
So it's pretty
big
nominal,
makes
yeah.
sense.
Yeah, the South Shore group is all about the South Shore group. We belong to that group.
Yeah.
I've been the past president of it, and it involves superintendents, assistant superintendents. It meets once a month.
Yeah.
We
For
have state.
$175 is worth it.
Yeah,
Yes.
we have state delegation comes out.
Yeah, that was a great
That was the
program.
best one that we just did, was the breakfast with the delegation. So we had all these state reps coming in from the entire South Shore, telling them that they need to fix stuff. Didn't happen, but they get a nice breakfast, and so on.
And then the new, or I don't know what it is, the new superintendent
Yes.
instruction, I'm completely for it. I know it is a bigger cost. I think Dinesh said it was like 5,800 or something.
It's
Three
49
years.
in the first year and 45 in years 2 and 3.
Perfect. So
And
we're
I
looking-
shared that info with you. It's a great opportunity. It also
Correct.
includes personalized coaching.
Perfect. So my suggestion here, to be completely honest, she's going to get way more out of that than we're getting out of the Mass School Committee, MASC or whatever it is. My suggestion here, so we can just offset this cost and not worrying about adding another $5,000 to the budget, pull us out of the school committee one, put it in Jen for her, 2-year thing with new superintendent, and we could just yank ourselves out and save ourselves the money and hypothetically switch and switch.
But is that the one that you just attended the webinars?
No,
for?
it was an ASS.
Oh, MASs,
An
okay.
ASS, I think, probably is a lot more productive than
Yeah,
ASC is
okay.
for us, quite frankly. My response to that would be, since the money money is always fungible, I'm not against the latter, but I don't wanna make that part of the vote. Like, I don't wanna vote to leave that.
No, I'm just,
Yeah, we can talk about that in a
yes,
future.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just thinking like, no offense here, but in my 1 year, we have not done anything with MASC, and it
Yeah, you're
seems like we
definitely
really
not,
haven't.
you're not offending anybody here, trust me.
So like, it's just one of those things that if we can save us the $6,000 as a district and we don't need it, and we can offset the cost, and we don't gotta worry about finding an extra $12,000 over the next 2 years, boom, see you later, good to go.
The only thing I would mention is that with MASC, we do, when new policies are released, at the state level, we automatically get updated versions of those policies. Our whole policy manual is through MASC. So I just want to make sure that, that would be something that we would
We
lose in
can
that
talk about that,
process.
I guess, too.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
biggest loss for you,
Okay.
is that the online policy is gone, and you now have to create your own internally from, I mean, you can take the ones we've done, but every time there's a revision, you're not gonna know about it.
Okay.
That's the biggest issue. Everything else, I think, is, as I said the other day, I do think that school committees and local elected officials need to get MASC to understand the 119 districts that aren't getting their piece of the pie.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, this is obviously a discussion for another time, because it's actually not on our agenda, but the times that I've gone through a policy that they have given us, I would say it's 50-50 that I disagree with something, and then they did something, matter of fact, in the last 24, 48 hours that pissed me off, I can't remember what it was, but they sent us something, and I wholeheartedly disagree with their position on it. But it's probably a discussion for like an agenda item.
Agreed.
So maybe flag that for another agenda
Yeah.
item at
Yeah.
some point.
Yep,
Okay,
I'm good with that.
so we'll get back to Jen's contract,
Sorry.
any other, that's all right. Any other thoughts, questions?
No, I think that's probably just a point of clarification. I know from the second contract, I think, to this final one, was carrying over the sick time. What does that even mean? Like all of her sick time that she's obviously accrued over the last.
Yeah, so,
20 years.
Sorry.
yeah, so she had sick time, and we basically just said, you won't lose the sick time because we're moving
Got it,
along.
okay.
That was, that's,
Yes.
you understand the
There's
same.
there's no financial package aligned unless,
Right.
unfortunately, somebody in her family or herself gets sick.
That's sick. Yep, that's fine.
There's no buyback,
I just wanted to.
as happens with other
It was
departments.
kind of weird that it wasn't in there from the beginning, to be honest, and then when it got
Yes.
added, I was like, what was this, like
So-
a negotiation piece? Like,
No, I'll tell you what that was actually her counsel had come back through our counsel and said, they want this, and I said, I'll be honest with you, I actually assumed that we were doing that. I
Yes.
didn't even
Yeah.
think for a second.
You
we were
do it for every employee when they
Yeah.
move from one, like, for example, if they move from teacher to administrator, they
Right.
carry the
Like,
sick
if you
time.
want to codify it, I'll codify it, but I assumed
Yeah,
that we were doing
agreed.
that.
Yes, agreed, that's what
So-
was kind of weird about it.
Yeah.
So, no, that's good. That's all I have.
Okay, anyone else?
Nope.
All right, do we have a motion?
One second, did we change that bottom section and remove Carolyn's name off it?
Yes, I did. On these, it should be, let me just confirm.
I didn't print mine, so.
Yeah, that was a good catch, and yes, Justine's on here. Okay.
All right, do we have a motion to approve Dr. Jennifer O'Neill superintendent contract?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. I
Yeah.
have copies here from Terry.
Yeah, so
Great.
use,
I
the
looked
chair.
through them, and they are what I know them to be, so
Yep.
if anybody else wants to, they can. How do we want to proceed on that?
You can sign them, and she signs them, and she's
Okay.
yours.
How many do we need? Is three?
Three. One is for her, one is for the office, and one is for town hall.
Okay.
All right, and then we'll move on to the FY
What
'24
agenda to
budget
sign?
update.
I'll sign, don't worry. I'm very happy to get this done.
Dr. Byetta, you doing the budget update?
Yeah, really quickly, we had a discussion last night, as you know, I thought the discussion went very well, thank you to the committee for doing so. We hopefully will have that stabilization transfer, that's a lifesaver for us. We met today as a leadership team to discuss, where we would bring information to you at the next school committee meeting, after town meeting, because as you know, at that next regular school committee meeting, you vote your new bottom line budget. And then we have to give you ideas, thoughts, and start that. Our goal will be the following, so that you know in general terms, and I wanna make sure you're okay with that. It would be a $1,658,338 cut. And why do I say the word cut? Because I got into trouble last year. This cut in general education does not provide level services. In other words, to keep what you have in anything. Expense lines, people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That because we did not add any positions to general education at all. We just asked for our people to be paid and our expenses to be paid. So I just want to clarify that from, hopefully, the mandated budget that we get. The order that I would suggest to you when the time comes for us to really discuss this would be cutting expense lines, discussing any retirements that don't need to be filled, any resignations or non-renewals that don't need to be filled. And by that doesn't necessarily mean there isn't some type of an impact. It just minimizes the impact. Any savings that we have in line items in terms of central office consultants and fees that we pay out. Any reorganization of programs, and I'll keep that very broad right now. And then we would look at, quote, staff, whatever department or area. The idea here is, can we get away without having to cut staff and cut 1.6? It just means we're taking care of a ton of line items that we really don't want to. We're creating further issues.
I mean, you
So-
think that's realistic?
I
mean,
think we can come in, we're gonna seriously look at the resignations, retirements, and do we have to fill that? What does that mean? So if you have a retirement in the next grade, if I don't backfill that person's leaving at 90,000, I could potentially save, let's say, 35,000 by bringing in a rookie. That's great, that begins savings, but the real question becomes, what does that do to class size if I save that $100,000, or excuse me, that 90,000 as an example?
And don't bring in any.
And don't bring anybody in, or save it until the summer, so don't fill it yet, and wait to see how many other resignations do we have. We average 20 to 24 turnover of people coming and going throughout the summer months. The list that you get at the beginning of the year is pretty long. I would anticipate that's gonna happen to a certain extent this summer as well. So what we've done in the past is the superintendent's had the authority that if there's an issue, if there's a K problem, all of a sudden we get all these K kids moving in, the first priority, the first $55,000 is to find a teacher for kindergarten and get that person in here. You don't want to change schedules in November. I've done it as a principal, where the town meeting voted in October, and then you posted positions that took 4 weeks, and it's Thanksgiving, and now you have a brand new schedule, and then you get the complaints of the parents about, I really like Mr. Sheedy, now I have Ms. Cohen. I don't like Ms. Cohen. I don't want to have Ms. Cohen. And so on. I'm just using that, of course, as an example. That's
Seriously.
just an example. And then, of course, the committee, this is policy and money. The committee can decide to do whatever they want going forward. And it's your call. It's a financial situation.
Okay.
The one, and I know we talked about this last year with like the resignations and teacher burnout, and this is a little off topic from the budget, but just while it's on my mind. Can we try to make sure we do some type of exit survey?
Yes, we will have forms ready to go for this year. Yep.
Because I remember
That was
talking
our-
about that last year, and just when you said that,
And we
again, I was
did,
like,
we had about, I'll get you the number, it's somewhere around 5 or 7 of people who actually did them, and we actually read them, but by the time we were doing them, we had other people who just didn't do them.
Yeah, correct.
Somebody that we non-renew,
Yeah.
I don't know how much information I need from them.
Yeah,
No, but I-
it's
I-
With all due
kind of
respect.
exit survey,
no, but just the people who are resigning, walking away, I'd love to kind of have an idea of like, why, And again, if they don't do it, they don't do it, there's nothing we can do about it, but.
No, we will
Get a little
institute that
bit
as part of our
background information.
final packet. Could you please complete this?
Perfect.
So do we
Sorry,
have
back
any
to the budget.
number, May,
It's all
whatever it
budget.
is,
Everything budget.
of anybody resigning or?
We currently have a couple of retirements that don't take place until October, November. So the big question is, when do we bring someone in? And then we have one person in one grade that's retiring that potentially we may not backfill. Again, we gotta look at the class size right now and what does that really mean. We are staying completely away from K to 3 right now. We are touching nothing in K to 3. Want to make sure I leave Nick happy before I leave.
See?
So
You're
K
understanding,
to 3, we're trying to not do anything with, and if anything, the potential that we may need to do something in K depending on enrollment. But right now, that's our shift. We will have some shifts of teachers, just simply because of the number of kids coming into second grade. This is an example. Number of kids coming into second grade doesn't need 4 sections, it only needs 3 sections, so we can move that teacher into third grade and da-da-da-da-da-da. That process will start, again, probably end of this month.
And I suppose, you know, I don't wanna say worst case scenario, but if we have to notify teachers by X date, and then we evaluate everything like you say, we can always give them a call and say.
Yeah, so the goal would be, we have to notify our staff by June 15th, because contract language is silent, so you have to follow the state law. So it's June 15th. Paraprofessionals and special education teachers may be non-renewed, but there is no cuts to that department whatsoever at this point. The cuts that could take place, just as an example, let's say it was X number of people, the question would be the prioritizing of calling people back. Because remember, you start collecting unemployment on the 16th. We get out the 15th, teachers have the right to file on the 16th and begin collecting every 2 weeks until they basically show unemployment that they have another job. So if it's our person that we want to call back, we've let go people on like June 1st and called them back on the 22nd of June and just said, no, nobody's collecting. Where we found the extra cashola to be doing that because somebody else resigned, or whatever the case may be.
Okay.
It's a busy month, June,
Yep.
for that, for the record.
All right, move on to vote to appoint superintendent to board of directors of Reed's Collaborative for the 2023-2024 school year.
I apologize, you're doing this a second time because you already appointed me, but I'm gone. I will read it into the record and then just a motion. Pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors at Reed's Collaborative are to be appointed annually. Dr. Jennifer Molina is appointed to serve as the Norton Public Schools representative on the Board of Directors of Reed's Collaborative in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4E, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Vote to, you good, Joe?
Yeah.
Okay. Vote to appoint superintendent to the Board of Directors of Bi-County Collaborative for the 23-24 school year.
Pursuant to Chapter 40, Section 4, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, members of the Board of Directors of the Bi-County Collaborative to be appointed annually. Dr. Jennifer O'Neill is appointed to serve as the Norton Public Schools representative on the Board of Directors of Bi-County Collaborative in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 40, Section 4, as amended by Chapter 43 of the Acts of 2012, for the 23-24 school year.
So moved.
Second.
We
All those-
really got those dates
I
wrong.
know, right? All
I
those,
checked this earlier today and I had you.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Whew,
I feel like
all
you, remember those people who used to be like, read the thing?
Yeah.
right. I know, right? I
It's
know.
like at the end of the
Yeah.
commercial.
I'm practicing for my next job.
That's pretty impressive for an immigrant.
Yeah, not bad, right? I wasn't doing it back in the day.
You're lucky my dad wasn't reading them.
Any other business?
I just have a couple of announcements. Just want to thank Wade Lazar, Mike Vaccaro, Eric Lackalade, Nick Teresi, Joe Trotman, Bob Griffin, and Chris Nolan for taking the 30-hour OSHA card. Some of us in the room know what that means. It's not a lot of fun, but it's all federal regulations. We are now required by state law that was passed a number of years ago that every single one of our employees must do the 10-hour. So we will start doing that with our teachers, our paras. We started with the 30-hour because the 30-hour is the head custodian folks. We thought that was the most important folks, and of course, Mike Vaccaro in our food services. Today I spent 2 hours in this room doing my student advisory committee met, and they are the selected youth advisory group, 6 to 12, for the threat assessment protocol and procedures. In other words, asking students about school safety and threats. It was awesome. It was done by the PhD out of Mass General, who's the consultant, that's the grant. Engaging, kids were active, kids were commenting, they were learning the difference between targeted violence and terrorism. It was very well done. Incredibly proud of them because that's a group that, through the principals I put together, I've been working with them. I'm losing a senior who's actually asked to come back and continue to be part of the team, and I'm like, absolutely, we'll Zoom you in. We'd love to have your views on that. So I just want to thank the students for that. That group will grow in the fall under Dr. O'Neill as well. And with the appointment of your superintendent, you have an assistant superintendent posting. that should take place, so you can begin searching for that. That typically involves the school committee in terms of, a member of the school committee is usually involved as part of the search, interview, screening. Dr. O'Neill will take that over because it's her appointment as a recommendation to the full school committee. So she has to recommend, you have to agree with her recommendation on those three: the business office, the assistant superintendent, the school doctor, and the school nurses. So believe it or not, the
PPS.
nurses, I'm sorry?
PPS.
And PPS, special ed, those are all recommendations from the superintendent. So Jen will be able to start putting together her team of people to support you and support the district.
What's your timeline? Do you have one yet?
I would love to post tomorrow, if we can make it happen. I think the hard part right now is it's already May 11th, almost May 12th. And if we're hoping for a July 1 start, it's a quick timeline. So if anyone is interested in supporting this process, please let me know.
Okay.
Just to let you know, I think the most important part, if I may, for my 2 cents, is just having a thorough process that allows for your staff to be involved, because that position is actually much more involved with the staff than my position is. Just because of the PD, the assessment practices, the curriculum, that's all driving that. And I'm sure you'll have both internal and external candidates, so I think you'll get, I think you're gonna get a good pool, I really do, because if you have a good reputation. She has a great reputation with the assistant superintendent's groups, assistant superintendent of the year, a year ago?
Yeah.
Because of her work around PD, so I think you're gonna get a good choice. I hope you will.
So, I just have one thing. I want to congratulate Coach Wade Lazat on his 150th career
Oh,
win
yeah.
as a head coach.
That's awesome.
And we all know Wade is very humble. He gave all of the credit to his past players and his current players, which is in true Wade fashion. But nonetheless, it is a great representation of our schools because he is a wonderful employee and a really good coach.
Yeah.
And not allowed to coach because he was a custodian for years, which I think is unfortunate. He would leave
Yeah.
here to go coach somewhere else.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Really?
My first year here, he came to me, we were looking for a coach, and I said, yeah, because I know the hours he puts in.
Yeah.
He's here Saturdays and Sundays, regularly. It's crazy, and the kids love him.
He is well respected by those girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Anybody else?
yeah, I just want to, I want to say something, and I normally would say this privately, and this would be a discussion I would have to individuals directly, just to kind of, to emphasize something. I want to point out that while it is not in the handbook, the school committee did vote in the final exam exemption for students that have a 90-plus grade or above. I know that this has been kind of talked about a little bit in the high school. I think there are some people who maybe didn't understand that that was actually current policy. I just want to highlight that, and you'll recall at the time, I think I wanted to do it at 80 or better. I don't think if they have it at, on whatever, May 28th, have a 90-plus average, I don't think we necessarily need to hit them with another test. So I would just highlight that that is in fact, per the school committee, our current policy.
We will follow through.
Agreed. Okay. Anything else? All right, so we have town
Oh, Do
meeting.
we welcome Justine?
Aw, Justine, welcome. We did privately before the
Yeah, we should
clock
publicly welcome
started. We-
Her name tag's on the way, I already apologize for not being.
You know what, we should have done this in the, but I think when we all walked in, we were like, oh, welcome, nice to meet you. So I didn't think 10 minutes later to
It just
do
struck
it
me.
publicly.
I looked at the left and I said, we never,
I know, I'm
Welcome,
sorry.
Justine.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're happy to have you.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. We really are a fun group, just wait. I'm happy to have another woman.
Right?
Yeah. So,
Carolyn is a woman, right?
I know, but,
She's not, but she's not.
She's not.
Yeah, it could have,
Kathleen, the list goes on and on.
wait till it's all women, I'll be gone by then.
When I started, there was 3 women.
I'm trying to remember, Beth McManus, Marge.
It was a long
It
time
was-
ago, Janess.
Yeah, it was just the 3, and then it was me, Tom Galata, and,
Jeremy Lynch.
and no, Phil was afterwards.
Drew Mackey.
It was Drew Mackey,
Oh.
yeah.
I think I replaced Phil.
You did,
may
yes,
have.
because he ran with me, yeah. Yep.
All right, well, back to town meeting Monday. 7 o'clock at the high school, and then our next meeting is Thursday, May 25th here at 6 o'clock.
We actually have a meeting on Monday.
Yeah, we do have a meeting, that's right, at 6:30, the school committee, yeah.
Yeah, you
Okay.
meet at 6 or 6:30?
6:30.
Excellent, yeah. I don't have any agenda
In the
items.
teacher's
I do all-
lunchroom.
Yeah,
Yep.
teacher's
Okay.
lunchroom.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good night, thank you guys.
All right.
Thank you all.